Hey everybody, here we have another match in the Amagi, the Tier 8 Japanese battleship, and this time we've ended up on the north map against a much smaller team. I guess the trade-off for them getting a Yamato was us getting extra ships, an extra cruiser. Now typically on this map, I like to sort of hang back a bit in battleships and wait until the enemy come to me. If you get too carried away charging down one of the channels, you're liable to get torpedo bombed. And when you're in a battleship, it's very difficult to evade torpedoes in a narrow channel because you don't turn very well. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is actually a mod that gives you all the information when you press the Alt key, which I'm doing now. It does it all the time, which would be very handy. I'm sure Wargaming will eventually add that in as an option. They did for World of Warplanes, obviously they did for World of Tanks, but they haven't got around to doing it yet. I don't find it to be too much of a pain during gameplay because, I mean, my hand doesn't stray far from the Alt key anyway. But for replays, it certainly would be useful, I think. But we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully Wargaming will be able to get that feature in soon, and also maybe beef up the replay system a bit. Now you'll notice I'm not launching my scout yet. I do actually have the skill upgrade, which allows the scout to fly out further, which obviously gives you better visibility, but I wait until I'm a little closer to let it go. You can see me doing it here. If you let the scout go the moment you spawn, it's not going to spot anything. And so you're basically wasting one of the uses of your scout, which is limited, as you can see by the little number 3 up in the top right corner of the scout icon. Things start out pretty slowly. We can see where the enemy's aircraft are, thankfully very far away from me at the moment, and there's the enemy Yamato. Now his guns outrange mine by about 8 kilometers, so if he wanted to, he could just kite me across the map while hitting me, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Luckily for me, he decides to get in close. Now, if he gets in close, he's going to have less chance to get good plunging fire on me, although eventually he will just put shots straight through my belt, and it gives me a good chance to actually hit him. And so although I lose an enormous amount of hit points there to his plunging fire, I decide I will run with it and try and close the range. Looks like that salvo is going to land on him. And sure enough it does. Not very much damage out of it, but we'll have to take what we can get until we can close the range a bit more. Looks like the enemy's torpedo bomber squadrons, or at least one of them, was very badly mauled by our own aircraft and anti-air, which is good. The less torpedo bombers he can put up late game, the happier I will be. Especially now I've lost so many hit points. Kitakamis are a big threat. You can shit out 40 torpedoes, 20 per side I think it is. And so I really don't want to let him get close to me. Fortunately my shots miss, but it looks like he's already dumped all his torps anyway, so we should be safe for now. Now I am actually closing the distance quite a bit here. This is quite a lot closer to the enemy team than I'd usually be comfortable getting this early in the match, but it gives me a good chance to remove some enemy ships from the game. And you can see the torpedoes coming out of that Kitakami there, but those are going to be the last torpedoes he fires. So I know he's got torpedoes coming at me, so the first thing I do is begin changing course, and sure enough, here they come. I'm going to have to take at least 1 or 2 hits. And so I try and turn parallel with the torpedoes. It actually looks as though I might get away with no hits here. Perfect. A lot of battleship drivers complain about torpedoes being overpowered. The problem is that they don't react until it's already too late. You have to move as soon as the torpedoes are in the water, if not before. And there goes a massive hit on the Yamato. That's why you don't get close in that ship. He just lost 50,000-60,000 hit points in a single salvo. And even with repairs, there's no way he's going to recover enough hit points to survive. He's pretty much just signed his own death warrant. He has got some cruisers there screening for him, but I'm not real worried about the cruisers at the moment. The Mogami words does have torpedoes, but he's likely to be preoccupied, and in any case the Yamato is blocking his shot. He's only on 520 hit points, he's dead the second somebody hits him, and there he goes. I decide to try and clean up the cruisers. And go for the Pensacola, who's slightly closer and lower on health. Good hits there, and the Pensacola gets removed.
We destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Looks like the Mogami's in trouble. He's got a bunch of torpedoes heading for him. I take a shot anyway, but I'd say he's probably done. Get one hit, not a very big one. And he actually gets away with it. He does have some dive bombers headed for him, but... or headed away from him even, but his anti-aircraft is just tearing him apart. Either way, the big threat is now dealt with. And this guy's not going to last very long. He's low on hit points, and being a cruiser, he can't repair. The destroyer's also over here, and the carrier, they're all bottled up in this end of the map. And so, while our cruisers put pressure on them via the cap, we're free to begin engaging the ships and try and clean the last of them up. Looks like he's done, sure enough. And now I can try and get some shots on the carrier. He's right on the edge of my gun range. He's actually leaving my gun range. And so I need to try and get a bit closer. See, he's sending his fighters after our torpedo bombers, while sending his own torpedo bombers after our cruisers, which is perhaps not the best idea. Cruisers are usually pretty capable of dodging incoming torpedoes. Battleships are a much better target for aircraft carriers because they really just cannot get out of the way quick enough. And this comes back to what I was saying right before I smacked the crap out of Yamato, is that you can't react to torpedoes when they're already on their way to you. It's too late, especially in a battleship. You have to react when you see them being dropped. Or even if you don't see them being dropped, when you see a destroyer or a Japanese cruiser getting that close to you, you know that there's going to be torpedoes in the water. And it's usually kind of self-evident by the way the ship's maneuvering. If they're showing you a broadside and then suddenly turn away, guarantee they've just dropped torpedoes. If you react either right as the torpedoes are dropped or just before, you have a really good chance of throwing the attacking ship's aim off. change speed, change course, do whatever. Don't stop, because as I said previously, stopping is suicide, but just do what you can to make it difficult to hit you. If you're trying to react to torpedoes that are, like a kilometer away from you, 9 times out of 10, unless you're in a destroyer, you're not going to have time. In a battleship, even if they're several kilometers away, you probably still won't have time because they just move too quickly and you turn too slow.